Hello, 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 and welcome to the Drag Race Recap here on Reality TV RHAPups. I'm your host, Liana Boraas, and we are here to discuss episode 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race season 15. First, here with us today is a man who, you know what, his team may not have won, but he's got Drag Race to talk about. He's here, he's powering through. It's Aman Adwin. Aman, how are you?
Yes, I have a Eagles Super Bowl Rihanna hangover and also just a regular hangover, but I'm here and I'm queer and I'm ready to talk about Drag Race.
Yes, and whatever the editing of this challenge was, don't worry,
Yeah.
we'll get into all of it. And rounding out the panel is, as always, Beth Dixon. Beth, how are you?
I'm doing well. I feel like I'm going to be like coming to you live from my work laptop and campus. It's this Drag Race recap. I don't know. What a weird weekend. You know, we have this episode that we'll definitely have some questions about, and then the Super Bowl and everything. So there's a lot of energy to get through this week, you know, and I'm excited to break it all down with the two of you.
Yes, let's balance our chakras, get everything
That's
aligned.
right.
Yes.
Open our third eye.
Oh man, I don't know if I have to watch that challenge again. I'm gonna go close my third eye and my two
Uh,
other eyes as well. But like,
it's like we'll get to it.
okay, yeah, we will. We are going to talk about it. We have the winner of last week, Aura Maiori, going home here. We have a Mistress win, and we have a Daytona Wins 2 challenge, an acting challenge to talk about. And honestly, that really is the talk of the town, is the editing specifically of this challenge. So let's talk about it. The deal with Daytona Wind, we had it last season. Daytona Wind won, and it was an acting challenge. But the gag was that the girls didn't know about that there were fart sounds throughout the edited version of the skit. So that was the joke. The girls didn't know it was coming. So all of the, acting moments, obviously they didn't know they were the butt of the joke. But here we had sort of a very different take on, which I know Rue addresses this as like a Tim and Eric style editing, but I don't quite know if this worked.
I don't really. I'm still like trying to understand the creative choice for this. Like I don't know. I was very confused when I watched it the first time, and I thought maybe the second watch will make it make sense. And it still was just like this feels very, very off. And this is becoming extremely like hallmark for Drag Race. They always have one acting challenge that is just off the rails all the time.
This was I couldn't tell if you were drunk or high if it would actually make it better or not. Like I actually feel like this is one of those few times, like Tim and Eric's comedy is the kind that like if you're high you're like this is great, right? Because it gives you time to catch up to it. I think the issue with this is Tim and Eric is already kind of an extreme kind of comedy, right? There's awkward pauses, there's weird editing moments, there's repeated moments, there's things like that. Drag Race acting is already an extreme camp, which is a very signature style of acting. So I just don't think combining those two had the payoff that I think the producers had hoped it would. And I really don't blame the queens for this. I think actually with the material that they were given, I think for the most part, the queens kind of were able to do it and do it well within what they were given.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just too bad because I kind of was like, I'm sitting back and I'm like, where are the days of like the season 6, like 80s versus 60s horror film, you know, kind of acting, or it's just maybe not season 7 Shakespeare. We all know that was really bad. Or the Empire acting challenge from season 8, like things that were spoofs off of that. And I love that they tried to do something original like Daytona Wins, but like, how did this follow Daytona Wins if there was no farting? Like, I just don't get.
I didn't get that either.
Right, like the whole title joke. Because once you get, oh, it farts, Daytona Wins, ah ha ha ha, aha. So yeah, the sequel like just made absolutely no sense,
Right.
at least in terms of the title. I thought maybe they were gonna do like a Daytona Wins to some, sort of like subtitle to it that would maybe tie in a little bit better. I like what you're saying, Beth, about essentially the drag acting in and of itself is already like so much and so over the top. And I feel like this editing style just did not do the girls justice, because
Right.
what Daytona wins, the first one, while I was not the biggest fan, it still allowed the queens to just like do their own drag acting with only sort of these small like fart gags. So it didn't really
Right.
disrupt too much from what the queens were actually doing. I think my problem here with this editing style, there was a moment that I think really encapsulates what I'm thinking, which is with Sasha Colby. And she has this like reaction moment, and then there's like a weird editing like explosion thing with it. And I'm like, I can't tell if Sasha's doing a good job or a bad job,
Right.
because
Yeah.
is she like is the editing like trying to tell me that she's not doing well? But I think she is doing well. It's the editing that's making her look bad, which then in turn is like making me interpret the challenge in a different way. So just like the whole thing was like a total mess. As a viewer, I walked away from it thinking, what the hell is this? And like not in a good way. And like I don't even know what my take home message would even be from this. I think the reason I knew the girls that were in the top, like Mistress and Malaysia, is because of the rehearsal. Like not because of the actual show itself, but because of what we got to see with them interacting with Rue.
Yeah.
I don't even think, because normally you can hear like RuPaul and Michelle and whoever else like laughing in the background. I don't think anybody laughed. Like, I don't
didn't think it was funny.
like what was going on. And then there was like that and I like the fact that they were like throwing in like famous quotes from the show and everything. But then there's like that long ass pause after Lucy's like, I can't wait to see how this turns out. And I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't understand like what the funny part was being. And they're tap dancing on the ants for like an extraordinarily long time. And I'm just like, like where
I
is
actually, both times I watched the challenge, I thought that my video paused on Lucy. Like I thought that like I forgot the first time. And even when I watched the second time, I was like, oh wait, no, this is supposed to apparently happen this way. I also like that instead of, I mean, obviously it makes sense, but instead of saying it beforehand, I like how RuPaul's almost like, by the way, this is supposed to be Tim and Eric style, like blah, 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 blah. Like it was almost like, I'm gonna blame how bad this is on like we tried to do something, it just didn't work. Okay, moving on. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just so weird. And even Selena and Untucked was like, I was making faces because I thought like there were supposed to be moments where I was going to be farting. And I'm like, it's so weird. It would be like if Survivor did the catchphrases, but like actually didn't do, they're like, we're gonna have the same twist as last time, and then like people just start saying random stuff, and then like there's just no twist. I don't know. It just was so weird to just make this a sequel when it
this
had
really
nothing.
this really felt like a like random knockout round. Like I feel like if our like if you're like playing the Drag Race board game, this is like that one square that you land on where it's just like you have a very high likelihood of being in the bottom two because the challenge is just crazy and you might just be the one out. Like it's like I just don't understand.
You had a low roll. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in Yahtzee, you're like, I'm just gonna add up what I get here. That's it. I don't know. I'm not going for anything in particular.
Yeah, like I'm looking back at my notes now and I'm like, what did the ants, what did that have to do? The like weird step dancing bit. I'm like, what did that have to do with anything? I just
The only thing that sort of seemed to land for me was like Marsha's character accidentally baking the ashes into the brownies. That was kind of funny. And then of course Danny Trejo's random ass just popping up to save it. Like,
and the only part about literally, I tweeted this out. The only thing I laughed at the entire time was Danny Trejo going, Vanjie, Miss Vanjie, and then backing up out of the door. And I was like, I can't tell like what I'm supposed to be feeling right now.
Yeah.
Ooh,
not a damn thing.
Yeah. I also, I don't know if I'm allowed, but I'm going to do this anyway. So Mike Bloom texted me about this episode and like, he's like such a connoisseur of all TV. I was like, okay, he'll get it. Like maybe he'll get it. He'll be able to interpret it for me. His response was, what the fuck is this Daytona Wins? I know it's Adult Swim, but it was bad. Yeah. You can tell that you have to be really, really good to do that too many cook stuff. And I felt validated in that moment of like, no, I'm just not high enough cultured enough, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
High
This is
and
just weird.
cultured.
High and cultured. Yeah, exactly. This just doesn't work. This really just does not work.
Yeah.
I think it would have been great if I thought the direction they were going to go in, it was like they had the aunt that did the like, I feel very attacked right now.
Mm.
I thought instead of putting in like the farting noises, because like if you're going to do the same kind of thing, put in something else. So I thought all the sound bits were going to be like little moments of other things saying quotes from Drag Race past, right?
Mm.
And I
Mhm.
was like, okay, like not as effective maybe as farting, but we got something. But that was the only thing. Everybody else said their lines. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I guess it's just this Tim and Eric style. Which I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't connect with that humor. My brother and my sister-in-law love it. They'll watch Tim and Eric all day long. They have like all their books, all that kind of stuff. And I just sit there and I'm like, I don't know what I'm watching. It doesn't connect with me.
Mhm.
So I also
Mhm.
think maybe I'm a little harsh on it just because that's just not the humor that I align myself with.
Mhm. Yeah, that's totally fair. And that was sort of like my impression too. Was like, oh, maybe
Mhm.
I just don't get it, but I
For
feel
this to
like
be his RuPaul's directorial debut this season,
yeah.
nah.
Go back to the trauma porn, okay? That like served you better. More fake. Okay, a few other things about this acting challenge. Beth, you brought it up. Danny Trejo. We got the sort of cliffhanger with that in the rehearsal, and then the actual reveal, which was really fun. And again, maybe only the funniest part, the funny, only funny
It was
part.
so random. I was like, what the
But it was also, yeah, exactly, Aman. Thank you. It was so random because I was also trying to figure out, I was like, did I not remember Daytona Wind 1 properly? Like, am I missing something? Do
Mhm.
either of you have any reason why Danny Trejo specifically would be the one who would be there?
No.
Was he okay? All right,
I
good.
think I honestly think it was just like, who can we get that
It
would be really random because Tim and Eric style is very random.
It
Fair.
really felt like either RuPaul or Michelle, somebody was walking the streets of LA one morning with their coffee, headed to the set, and saw Danny Trejo coming out of the Starbucks and were like, "Hey, do you want to be on the episode? Come on, come on, come on. Let's just like that's what it felt like to me."
Or Danny saw RuPaul and was like, my daughter's a huge fan. And he was like, well,
Yeah.
come on the show. I have a weird part for you.
Right.
That I would believe because I think
Yeah.
it was in Untucked when he
Mhm.
mentioned that his daughter was a huge fan or something like that. I was like, okay, like now it's clicking. We get that with Lego Masters all the time where like a celebrity will come on and they'll be like, yeah, my kid is a huge Lego fan. So now it's happening for Drag Race, which is weird. But okay, Danny Trejo. The other thing I did want to say about this acting challenge that is separate from the editing, I think, even though
Mhm.
maybe if they had gone the direction Beth was mentioning, maybe it wouldn't be so separate. But the quotes,
Mhm.
the iconic Drag Race quotes. Don't get me wrong. I love a good callback. I love a good reference.
Mhm.
But this was just too much. It felt so lazy. And I'm trying to think like, was that just the editing or was that, because they were like,
Mhm.
well, we don't really have to write anything because we're going to like edit it weird. So we don't really
Yeah.
need a main story. It just felt like drag race quote after drag race quote after drag race quote, just trying to shoehorn everything without any like real direction. And it just
Mhm.
felt like too much. I was like, can we just like chill on the callbacks for 1 second?
It
And
was very gratuitous, and I feel like because of the editing, like you said, most things weren't landing, and so it just made it didn't feel the same way that
Mhm.
it has felt in the past acting challenges. It just felt very like insert funny, give me line here, and some of them worked, but most of them did not.
mhm.
So I think this I'm gonna put on my little hat here. I think the stylistic choice to put in the Drag Race quotes was I think it was literally trying to be like, what if Drag Race was a sitcom that had like lines that were always repeated on the show, kind of thing? Because like you saw like RuPaul when he introduced the challenge to them was like, did I do that? And like all that kind of stuff, right? I think that's what
Mhm.
they were trying to go for. But it doesn't work. Like, I also just don't understand if this is supposed to be a sitcom. Tim and Eric is not sitcom. It's not situational comedy, sit and have laugh track. Like they make fun of laugh tracks. Like that's the whole point of what they're doing, right?
Right.
So I think it would have made much more sense without the editing. And I'm going to be 100% honest. It was a lot, but I actually think that if they didn't do the Tim and Eric route, it almost should have been way more or way less. Like it should have been like every line was a line that a Rue girl has said at some point. Like that's the whole script. How do you weave them all in together to make a narrative? Or just throw a couple in as like little lines here and there, right? But I feel like it was like weirdly in the middle where it felt like too much without having a point. And I think that's what the issue at the end of the day for me at least was.
I like that interpretation. I do. Okay. No. I can see it. I can see it. I think that if they had gone like, we're going full sitcom, parody of sitcom, then that's like one clean, cohesive style that you're going with, and sort of like trying to mix the two, like just really did not
They should have just kept the damn fart noises. It was funny the first time. Farts are always going to be funny. Just use the farts again. Like if you're going to be lazy, at least do it that way, you know?
I thought maybe this time instead of farting, they burp or something like that, right?
Or that, yeah.
Or like little armpit sounds. I don't know. Like give me something stupid to laugh at. This this required too much thinking, and the thinking went nowhere for me. It was a train that never left the station.
Yeah, something air-based. Just so it fits the Daytona wind. So as long as you're sticking with that, I'm okay with that.
Like make some of the characters have like the chipmunk voice, make some of them have like a slowed down voice, like something like that. So that because I like the fact that what's her face was like anticipating fart noises being there, so she like tried to include that in her acting. So it'd have been really cool if it was something that got switched up to keep them on their toes. But I guess we'll see. It was just, I don't know. I just got so excited when I heard that they were going to do it. And Selena Estides was like me. She's like, oh my God, they did that last season. It was so funny. I can't wait to do it. And for it to come down to this, I was like, what?
I don't know. I didn't really like it last year. So I was kind of like, I was already kind of rolling my eyes before we got to this episode. And then I can't believe I left this episode going, I don't want to watch season 14's Daytona Wind again.
When it comes to fart humor, I am a 10-year-old boy. Like it's always gonna be funny to me.
Well, I was hoping for a little shout out at the very least, like a gust of wind at some point. And then, here we are, nothing.
I also went back, just one quick note before we talk about some other stuff in this episode. The Rue does say this is about 3 feuding drag race dynasties, but sitcom style. Like explicitly says, but sitcom style. So I do think that like conflating of the two ideas is what they were probably going for.
But also, where were the feuding dynasty? Like that had nothing to. It was Fancy, who's a prostitute, versus the widow, and that was it. There was no
fighting over a
dynasties.
dead man. Yeah, like
okay. I tried to write down their names too, and like I was like, I don't know who anybody is.
They even showed them on the screen, and I still couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we should talk. Let's talk about some of the individual performances.
Yeah.
Here, the big story really was Mistress in Malaysia. So we know that they're coming off of their sort of heated disagreement with the whole medal situation from last week, which was so funny when Aura, who was the winner of last week, got to assign all the roles. And you can hear Anitra in the background being like, I want medal.
I did love that. That was
So Mistress in Malaysia end up working together, or Marsha, their couple name now, I think Melistress, I believe, is their Melistress, their couple name, and they both end up in the top. I think they both killed it. Aman, do you think that Mistress was the deserved winner here? Do you think a joint win? Do you think Malaysia or someone else?
Yeah, it could have gone either way for me between Malaysia and Mistress. As long as one of them took it, I would have been fine. I'm probably a little partial towards Malaysia here, only because all of like the riffing and running and shabba dabba, that was really funny to me. That part I did enjoy of her acting, but yeah, could have gone the other way.
I I agree. I actually thought Malaysia should have won the challenge. I felt like I felt like her role was the most realized role, and
It did feel very
Mistress.
grounded, yeah.
Yeah, it felt grounded. I actually I know that character. Like I can see that character. Whereas Mistress gave me like generic person just moving my boobs and touching my body, and like that was like you have somebody who does that in every acting challenge. So I kind of felt like Malaysia had a juicy role and she did really well with it. I'm also gonna say, in terms of actual like pure acting, Marsha killed it. I thought Marsha was like the most like pluck her and put her in a sitcom, and that
This was
character
her
killed.
element. Yeah, that's what her freaking
Well,
character is.
Her name is Marsha.
So I really thought that it was very natural acting, and it was subtle, but it was reactionary and it was still a little campy, but it was natural enough that it wasn't over the top, which I felt like was a really needed palate cleanser in this scene. So I thought that she did a really great job, and she played off Anitra really well, and Anitra played off her really well. But I agree with Mistress that I do think at the end of the day, it's the look on the runway that kind of kept her from maybe being a little higher. And then in terms of, I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I would say I think Malaysia did better in the acting challenge than Mistress, but I think that Mistress's runway was more interesting. So I think that probably is what propelled her at the very end, if RuPaul thought of them being kind of equal.
Yes. Okay. So I think ultimately where I come down with it is that I would have given Malaysia the win, I think, because personally, I found her character more interesting. When I saw her character on screen, I wanted to see more. The character to me was more interesting with her playing the Reverend. So I probably would have given it to her, or I would have had a joint win. I think the fact that the drama of them being in a feud and then having a co-win, I don't know, maybe they were like, okay, we can't squash this beef yet. It's the only beef we have right now. So we can't give them a double win. We need them to still be mad at each other. So if we give it to Mistress, Malaysia will be upset, and therefore drama will continue. But I would have loved a double win here, especially the moment where Malaysia slammed the door in Mistress's face. Like, that just beautiful. Such a beautiful moment. They both reacted so well to the whole thing. I think as scene partners were really great. And even they were able to put their differences aside and even work together in the rehearsal. We saw that come off well. I think part of the reason maybe why they gave Mistress the win is because of the ad-libbing. Because we saw her do that a ton, and we saw her get a lot of praise for that. Now, I don't know what was ad-libbed and what wasn't, because I don't have the script. And I also don't really get the acting challenge anyway with the editing. So I can't really speak to whether or not she excelled at the ad-libbing or not. But that seemed to be part of the criteria as to why she was praised and ultimately given the win.
Yeah. The producers were also ad-libbing, so we don't know. The editors, we don't know what was going on. So.
Everyone.
I have to say something, though. I love the slam door moment, but I thought it was funnier in the rehearsal when Malaysia waited for Mistress to say, "Mother has arrived," beat, then shut the door. This was like, "Mother has arrived." And I was like, oh, I kind of liked it the other way.
Yeah.
But either way, it was
I could
really
see
great.
that.
Yeah.
I love the confession. She's like, it felt a little too good to slam this door.
But also, what a wonderful way to highlight how much of a professional both Malaysia and Mistress are, that they know, like, I got to put this petty drama to the side and focus on doing the damn thing, doing this competition. Those are the people that you got to watch out for. I don't care if they're from the pageant circle or not. Like, those are queens that know how to keep their eye on the prize and know how to grow. And so I think that really shows to me that they're really fierce competitors at the end of the day.
That being said, though, I was sort of like, I mean, I've totally been in those moods before where I get into an argument with someone and then we sort of we sort of de-escalate, and then it's like time to actually have a conversation, and I don't feel like talking. So Malaysia not contributing to the conversation, I totally got it, but I did feel like it was a little unfair for her to have such heat for Lux and Marsha, and then you were also talking all this trash about Mistress, but when Mistress is in the room and she wants to talk about it, you're like, and now Mistress can't even, like, she's apologizing, but she's also like, I still don't even know what I did wrong, and now you're sitting over here like mad as hell, and it's like it's just
Yeah.
it's very, very weird. So I'm glad that they did have the conversation. I'm glad that they both like apologized, because it was sort of just like, this doesn't need to, this particular storyline, I don't feel like I'm going to be interested in it for multiple episodes. So y'all need to get over it now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've had Metalgate now for what? I think 2 episodes where it's been sort of the major like drama plot point line. I think we're okay to set that aside and move on from that. I do want to, while we're talking about it, pull up the runway looks, because I want to get y'all's takes on especially comparing these 2 looks in particular with Malaysia and Mistress. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up now. So first we have Mistress's look, which,
love it.
oh my God. I'm
So
obsessed with this.
Me too.
The only thing I would change, she loves that clown white around her eyes. I would just take that down a little bit, but otherwise everything else I think is so stunning. She just paints so well.
Oh,
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love a good chap. I love it. I love just the dimensions and the proportions of everything. It's just so killer. Like, I want it. I want to wear that.
Mistress, to me, just has this incredible ability to say F you to every person who says a big person can't pull off something, and does it with class, confidence, and style in a way that, like, we've seen people who are bigger and pull off wonderful outfits before. I'm not pretending like she's revolutionary in that front, but there's just something that she does in particular that's incredibly well tailored. It's cutting edge. It's something like, this is an outfit that if it were on a thin queen, we'd be like, oh my God, she's breaking barriers, you know, that kind of thing. But like when you see it on somebody who's a bigger person, and makes it sexy and cool and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, I'm just such a big Mistress fan. I love that she is taking old school, you know, camp drag, but mixes it with new fashion at the same time. And I think that's a really unique point of view. She's obviously respects and loves her drag elders. I don't know if y'all saw, she had a whole Twitter thread in honor of Black History Month of like the Black queens that have either shaped her or inspired her, a lot of whom were from her family, her drag family, extended family and such. And it's so obvious to me, not only in the way that she talks about drag to people like Spice and Sugar and that kind of thing, but also just experiences and shows us drag, that she is such a student and so refined in what she does. And she's not going to stop anytime soon.
I'm pulling for her, man. I'm just saying it. I'm pulling for a Mistress win. I know that there's a lot of Sasha Colby people out there that want their bitch to win, and I won't be mad if Sasha wins either. But I think I'm really pulling for it. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Mistress.
Aman, Aman, what happened to your love of Spice?
Look, I love Spice and Sugar. I never said I want them to win. Okay.
No, I know.
I just want them to stick around a little bit longer.
No, but I'm with
now
you.
it's becoming
I'm
a little,
rooting for Mistress for sure.
Yeah, to see. Well, and I think she's been a queen who has had a really good showing so far. It would be a shocker to not see her in the final 5, final 4.
She's
I mean,
gotta be.
We'll do some previews for next week with the Lollapalooza lip sync, but I have a feeling she's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
The other look that we should discuss is Malaysia's. So she was obviously the other queen potentially in contention for that win. Oh, the other thing I'll say about Malaysia, Mistresses, sorry, the mum's names, is the Puffa Please was the theme of this runway. And I do feel like she executed that so well, especially with like Puffa chaps. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
So here we have Malaysia with her lemonade stand realness.
Lemonade stand.
Which this feels like a dress she had and then just got a puffer jacket. Yeah. Is that
That's
our
how I
feeling on
feel.
this?
Yeah.
I feel like it's like
Fine.
an afterthought of the outfit rather than being the star of the outfit. And that's the
Right.
only thing that I think is I think it's a really cool, different outfit. I love it. It's not something I expect from her in particular. And I really love it. I think she looks beautiful. I love her paint this week. Like she beat her face really well. I but that said, I have to give the edge to Mistress when it
Mhm.
comes to the look.
It's just you can see the puffs better. And then this one, yeah, it's like on the inside of the coat, but like if the fabric and the design that's on the outside, you can't really see the puff texture if it's even
Mhm.
there. So
Mhm.
yeah, it just didn't really hit the mark. It's beautiful, it's just not
Mhm.
puffer. Puffer, please.
Right. I think that's the thing is that it's a game of inches for this, right? And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
when you've got a few more inches of puffa, then you're gonna go with that, potentially
Mhm.
over the lemonade stand look here. We talked already a little bit about Anitra and Marsha. I just want to touch base on them one more time, mainly because when I was first watching Anitra in the acting challenge, one, I'm 100% biased towards her. So I was like, oh my God, she's doing so good. And then I was like, wait, am I just biased because I like her? Oh, okay, good. No, she is in the
Yeah.
top. She was critiqued well. Her
Mhm.
runway look, not exactly my
Yeah.
favorite, but her voiceover thing where she talked about being the Las Vegas state bird, which Las Vegas is my favorite state. Being the prostitute was hilarious. So I'm going to give her points for that.
Yeah, her runways these past couple of episodes have been a little. I'm like, what's going on, girl? She always looks great, and like I said, I think she has the best runway walk out of all of the girls this season. But yeah, I've been underwhelmed. I think for the past 3 weeks. So I hope that
Yeah.
the next couple of uh categories she's better at those ones.
I really feel like Anitra's issue on the runway is that she has a really good concept and she knows what she looks good in, but she's just not pushing it enough. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh God, I sound like a judge on the panel now. I see who you're trying to be, but I'm just not getting enough of it. I don't know. Oh my God.
No, more Ross impression. Okay, so you know how when you like go to bed and your socks are still a little wet and you have that like feeling and it's like a little bit uncomfortable, but you like kind of like it? Yeah, that's the
Mm-hmm.
feeling I'm getting
when I
from
look at your outfit.
when I look at your outfit. Yeah.
The hilarious Ross Matthews.
I loved Selena S titties. I loved that
I
runway.
loved that one. I not because I thought it was like the best looking one, but just like the concept was
The
so
concept.
good.
All of her looks have like such interesting concept, and like I feel like I get it. Like I feel
Yeah.
like I understand her all the time when she's on the runway, and to put cheese puffs in your coochie,
Flaming hot.
flaming
Her
hot.
pussy's on fire.
At
I
first, I didn't get it. I was like, "Why are you just eating?" But then I was like, "Oh, puffs, got it."
yes. I love Cheetos Puffs. So I was here for the Cheetos Puffs. Also, I wanted one of those backpacks so bad when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid. Like I mean, such a
Mhm.
stupid idea to have a transparent backpack. But when
I
I was
know.
a kid, I wanted one. And I remember when my friends had one and I was so envious of her. So for that to be the inspiration for Selena's look is just makes my little millennial heart sing. So
Yeah.
fabulous.
There's
I think yeah, it like hit a part of my brain of my childhood. Like it just
it awakened my inner child.
Serotonin.
But that's the thing. So this is I have a question for you guys. Do you think that RuPaul and Michelle, probably more so Michelle, like knew what she was doing? Or do you think this is a reference because no offense to especially RuPaul, but I don't think these backpacks were around when RuPaul was going to school.
no, probably not. No.
And this is not like they were on media. Like it wasn't like they were on television all the time and something that RuPaul would have been watching. I feel like this is kind of one of those like niche things before social media that people did to go to school that is going to like absolutely influence those of us who were millennials and went to school at this time, but maybe not connect with someone of RuPaul's years.
I forget what they said about her runway, but I would yeah, I don't think that they probably got the point of view, but it was still Puff at the end of the day, so I
Yeah.
feel like it's like it still checks the box. But I'd be surprised if they knew that that was the reference.
Same. I felt the same way about, I think it was Spice who had that little dog, that little mechanical dog that was like
Mhm.
it felt very similar to me in terms of the time of the reference. Maybe
Yeah.
Michelle's kids. How old are her kids? I don't know.
Her oldest child is they're both in college. I think her oldest child is maybe like a junior or senior in college.
Okay, so
Mm.
maybe a little young for
I
that.
think
That's the
yeah, I
only
think
reason
they are.
I could see them really understanding what this reference was, unless she was given some type of opportunity to explain it, which she was safe. So,
Right.
Yeah.
all right, who else do we want to talk about? We've talked about the tops. Let's talk about the bottoms.
Yeah.
We had, of course, Aman's winner pick, Spice. I'm just gonna start this rumor.
Spice
Oh.
supremacy.
Spice, yes. And really, okay, so the bottom three: Spice, Aura, and Jax.
Mhm.
And when my thought was, do they want Spice to go home this week? Yes or no? Because if the answer is yes, they want Spice to go home, put her in the bottom with one of the two of them. I don't
Mhm.
think it necessarily matters.
Mm-hmm.
So when Spice was safe, the decision to me was they wanted to keep Spice safe, not necessarily that they wanted to send either Aura or Jax home. Does that make sense? Like, just because as a producer,
Yeah.
you have to know that
Yeah.
probably one of or either Aura or Jax going up against Spice is 99.9% going to win.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end of the day, this challenge comes down to who did RuPaul like to work with as a director?
Hmm.
And we see him try to give direction to Spice, and Spice isn't getting through. We see Michelle getting annoyed with the walk, the runway walk. And I think this is like the last straw of
Hmm.
like the last warning that's like, hey, so we kind of blew our load and got rid of your twin really early. So we really need you to kind of step it up a little bit so that this pays off for us. And that the TikTok kids are still tuned into us. So please give us something next week. I think
Mhm.
that's what this was. But I also think like poor Jax. Like I do agree with Jax being in the bottom this week. I don't know what kind of stoner she was playing, but that was not a stoner at all.
Yeah.
Um I she's like, I got it. I know how to smoke weed and such. And I was like, girl, I think we need to smoke weed together, and I'll show you how
Yeah.
much. But no, I just I do think this is the first time I felt like Jax deserved to be in the bottom.
Mm.
And I do
Mm-hmm.
think that Aura was at least trying to overact and such, which is the name of the game. I also, when it came to acting, probably would have put Lux in the bottom. I felt like she was bland, nothing, just kind of gave a few looks and was just holding on to Sasha. And my eyes always went to Sasha and not Lux. But Lux's runway outfit was amazing. So, of course, I would put her safe. So, I think that for me, it was kind of a toss up for Aura or Lux, but
Mm.
I don't know.
I feel like I agree with the bottom two. Maybe switch out Aura with Jax or something. I don't know. I don't know. It was kind of that challenge was just so hard, and I think, I think I sort of like considered the runways a bit more this time around because I didn't really have much to go off of for the challenge. But I also agree. I do think that it really did come down to like what your experience was like with RuPaul on set, because like if you were able to take direction, if you were able to like get to work with him well, then you probably were going to be safe. If
Mhm.
not, then writing's on the wall, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I brought this up last week of Rue directing is a big deal. And if
Yeah.
Rue is able to get to know you better and work with you and sort of get to see what you're like on set, that can be a big determining factor in how you're
Totally.
going to progress in the competition. I think that combined with the fact that I, as a viewer, learned more and probably judged the queens more during the rehearsal than I did during the actual edited performance. I think those two things combined definitely hammer home
Mhm.
that theory that y'all are talking about, which is like
Yeah.
essentially, or is Rue able to give you instructions and you comply, right? And we saw Aura struggle over and over with the any hole is a goal. He said, a hole is a goal. over and over and over
Mhm.
again. It's even brought up in Untucked when the queens are talking about it. Like Lucy, I think, said something about like my shoes hurt, my feet hurt. I want to get out of here. Please get this right. Jax also, as you mentioned, Beth, just I don't even know what she was going for. Like, even if she had a preconceived notion in her head of what the character was, it was not a good one. And
Right.
she even had the Adore Delano line of party.
Party.
She could have done Adore as the stoner girl, and that is exactly what she
All
should
you have to do with party is do this face with it. Party. And it's just like brighten up your whole face because that's kind of like what she does with it. And like that's it. But instead it was party. Let's go.
party.
Party.
I mean, or at the very least, do it the Katya way from also.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Party.
Yes. That was
Party.
actually that was my first thought too. Especially maybe it's just because Jax did it so deadpan the first time that I thought I didn't think of the Adore one. Didn't work. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Spice. So again, Spice was in the bottom, not the bottom two. I don't know. Maybe it was the Southern accent again that I got flashbacks of Miley Cyrus and started having a little bit of a panic attack for her. Please don't do this. Don't do this. Just I started having those Tim and Eric flashbacks of exactly biting on the hammer thing or whatever.
Maybe Spice is just prophetic and was trying to do a Tim and Eric version of Miley Cyrus during the Snatch Game.
She knew. Oh boy.
They are starting to get annoyed with her, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. Can we talk about that moment where RuPaul was like, get the sniper?
Cue the sniper was a wild thing to say. That was
oh my god.
fantastically out of pocket. I was like, oh my god.
The coffee enema kicked in through that day. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm actually a little terrified for Spice, especially given the fact that Lollapalooza is coming up, which I'm nervous for her. But yeah,
this
Rue's
might be
comment
the
there,
time that she goes.
I'm actually, part of me is surprised that they didn't get rid of her here because, okay, you're a producer, right? Let's think producer brain. You are going into a Lollapalooza. Now, they say there's a twist, which we don't know what that is. But if it's anything like what we saw with, Bosco having to perform, 3 times?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we going to see Spice perform 3 times doing the same thing 3 times? Why would you not get rid of her here and then have both Aura and Jax, who are good lip syncers, in the Lollapalooza? I just thought, like, why? So unless the twist saves her, I don't know. Are we really going to see her perform 3 times?
Yeah, probably.
Or is the twist that it's inverted? If you win, you continue on, and the winner of the challenge is like a tournament style for the winner, and then the bottom is like a bottom 4 or something of like the 4 people who lost the first round or something.
Okay, I like that. I could definitely see that. So then they're fine. She's easy fodder. Send her home. That way you don't have to lose any of the other queens that you like. So maybe that's why she was kept. Okay.
And then you get to watch more entertaining people as the episode goes on. I don't know.
Right, because you have essentially the top lip syncers performing multiple times for the ultimate win. Okay. I can get behind that.
If I were a producer, that's what I would do, Liana. I would just make sure,
You're so smart.
Oh, thank you.
The one other thing I wanted to mention with the Cue the Sniper line was Lux referencing what Jackie wore when JFK got shot by a sniper. Cue the sniper. I don't know. I just felt
I don't know if she was supposed to be.
Card.
Did she say that she was trying to wear what Jackie wore when JFK got...
it's that pink dress, right? Isn't that what
I thought she just was going for a general Jackie O style with like the kind of thing. Okay. But maybe that's what she meant because it was pink, obviously. Yeah. That's the first time I thought about that, Liana, and that is dark.
Right?
Oh it's also somebody tweeted, I don't remember who, and I'm so sorry, but somebody tweeted, they were like, all right, RuPaul, like fracking, a little bit of transphobia in the past. Like, maybe let's not evoke like gun violence on top of this, like even as a joke. And I was like, you know what, to a certain extent, I'm like, all right, guys, this was clearly a campy joke. RuPaul's not actually calling for violence. But at the same time, I'm like, girl, I don't know. That's a pretty severe joke.
The whole bar was
Today's
like,
culture.
whoa.
Okay. All right. What else do we have? Well, we've got a lip sync to talk about, and what a lip sync it was. After, of course, Spice being called safe and then trotting back with the sniper thing, all that. But
honestly, she's iconic for that, though. They literally just told you they don't want you to do that, and she goes, "Thanks,
she did it again."
all the way back. I was like, "You better work."
Michelle's face was like,
so mad.
It was so good.
Which is what made it so funny. And she totally forgot. Like, no way. She didn't even think about it, right? Like, this is not I'm doing this on purpose to be iconic. This is a Spice forgot about the critique and then just did what she does, right?
And then they said
used to doing it on TikTok every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Jax versus Aura. Sweetest Pie, Megan Thee Stallion featuring Dua Lipa. Okay. Aura did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
But Jax just caught my eye and I could not look anywhere else.
Yeah, I knew this was going to be a good one because they're both little dancers, flippers, just doing all sorts of the acrobatics. But yeah, I feel like Jax really knows how to build her lip syncs. Like, she gives you a little bit in the beginning, and then she starts really, it's just like, even the first flip that she did was like a flip and then a dive into the ground to slow it down a little bit, and then she ramps it back up with another like backflip. I'm like, she just knows how to craft it so that it doesn't look like too much too soon. It's insane.
I had Anitra's ever so effortlessly in my head the entire time I was watching her. I also I realized the second time I watched the lip sync, I realized I didn't even know the first time that Aura duck walked at one point because I just so was zeroed in on Jax. I was like, actually, Aura did some good stuff too. And I want to give Aura, I know we didn't really talk about her look. I loved Aura's look for the runway. And apparently she said that it was like really heavy, like 50 pounds or something like that.
It looked like it.
It was super heavy. So like, props to her for, shedding that off in the beginning, but, really working it out and that kind of thing. Cause I thought she did a good job the second time when I actually paid attention to her. The first time though, it was the Jax show. Jumpin' Jax.
The way she like lands too, you can just tell, the bitch is trained. Like, she always looks like light as a it's like, how are you making your body do all of this? And there's like no recovery time. She's just into the next set. It's like, it's insane. So that's real talent.
True story. She's going to Paris for the Olympics.
I would believe it though. About time drag is in the Olympics.
Could you imagine how iconic that would be? Also, just all the the transphobes of the world would come out. Yeah, oh my gosh, you have someone in the women's gymnastics. But could you imagine? It'd be so good.
Should be so good.
Full drag and everything. Yes, it'd be amazing.
On the balance beam, I would love to see that. With heels, I would love to see that.
Amazing.
I would believe that she could execute it. There is one moment that I want to play. Hopefully we don't get copyright claimed on this. It's on YouTube. Okay. So they put it up on YouTube and this is at the minute 50 mark. And if you go listen, like just pay attention to this moment. This is the moment for me that Jax like sealed the deal. She does this like backflip kick thing and it's like on the beat. Okay, sorry, Aura, I don't care. But like, it's just like so good, so good. She killed it. I just in that moment, I felt like I needed to see her live right now. Which, to be honest, she hasn't been bringing that much for me in the rest of the show. But in that moment, I was the biggest Jax fan ever.
Yeah, she was doing the damn thing. Good for her.
I need to look up when she's performing in New York City and didn't go throw all my money at her.
Yeah, exactly. Well, unfortunately, Aura is sent home from a win to being eliminated, which must suck. But I think she was able to show a lot of herself. She got to do the talent show, which is always very cool. She did have some killer runways, especially these past 2 weeks, I think have been absolutely outstanding. It's unfortunate to see her go, but again, like I said, I think Jax just did so well in the lip sync that I couldn't help but give it to her.
It was her time. And like I said at the beginning of the season, I feel like it's going to be like that for most eliminations. Like it just feels like, oh my God, this one's going too soon, because they all have like something good about them. I feel like there's like less filler queens this time around than maybe so in the past. So
yeah, I have that feeling as well.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? So a few just sort of like random things that I want to mention. One is when I think Mistress called Sasha Colby Dumbledore.
I laughed.
Oh my
I
God.
cackled.
I laughed so hard, and someone made a meme on Reddit with Sasha Colby's face photoshopped onto Dumbledore's body. So if you want to check that out, if you're watching the video version, you can see it, but I highly recommend. It gave me a good old chuckle.
Not obviously get too political, but I did have a moment of like, probably not the best aging when you're talking about a trans woman as well, to invoke a Harry Potter reference.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't even catch that. Yeah.
Well, especially in the middle of all the Hogwarts Legacy stuff too that's going on right now, where it's like become this symbol of like trans hate, which is totally messed up. So yes, but it still made me laugh.
It was still funny, but I did have my immediate visceral reaction was like, oh, they decided to keep that in. Interesting.
Yeah. In this economy,
they cut how much out of this episode to make it an hour, and they kept that in. Interesting.
It is interesting though that that's sort of like how she's being perceived, I guess. But I don't know if it's just Mistress that feels that way, but like it's interesting because I feel like we don't see too much of that happening. So I wonder if that will become like a storyline later on, that Sasha can be a little, maybe she has a certain air about her because she knows that she's so, established and she's mother. So she's gonna mother. Like, sorry that she's mothering. Like, so.
But the funny part about that is like Mistress is mothering in her own way too. Like she's telling people like, here's what you do so that bitches don't come after you, or you have to put that down right now, or you just say it right now and let's hash it out, and doing those kind of things. And yes, it's a very different style. But I don't know. I just think it's interesting when it's different than the bitter old lady brigade from season 7 that was just like hating on younger queens. This is like they're trying to encourage and allow the younger queens to grow. But yeah, interesting.
We saw Mistress with Sugar and Spice. That was definitely her very much mothering moment once she opened up to the twins. Sasha Colby also in the very first episode, I believe, who said something about let the children do what they're going to do, have their little squabbles during the choreography. And then she's like, I'm going to step in and then get done what needs to be done. That just definitely is her aura. Not the aura, RIP. But
Hardy har.
I do wonder, Aman, if we're going to see more of that sort of storyline, especially as we move towards the finale, which I have to imagine probably includes Sasha Colby and Mistress. So we could definitely see this for the long haul.
Yeah, I think so too.
Especially once we get to 90-minute episodes coming on March 10th, which, by the way, I think was always the case because the real friends of WeHo or whatever was supposed to end the week before that. So I love that everyone's like, we did it. I'm like, we didn't do shit.
But it was hilarious as hell though that Todrick put that note out earlier saying like, even after our show is over, you're still not getting. It was like the Venom in which he said, you're still not getting 90 minutes. And like, what the fuck?
I sent this to Mike literally the first thing I did. I'm like his little like news person for Drag Race is like the note. So Todrick put this out on his Instagram and literally you won't be getting 90-minute episodes. Like, that's not how TV works.
Let's practice fact checking, but spelled fact FAQ. So let's practice frequently asked questions checking. Like, what are you doing? But let's practice fact checking. It's happening, Todrick. So
have you deleted that yet, or is that shit still up?
I don't
knowing
know.
him, it's probably
I
still
got a
up there.
So I was like, this is gonna be funny later. So that's so funny, but it is okay. So March 10th, we're going back to 90-minute episodes, which is after the finale of The Real Friends of WeHo. So it's still going to be airing until the end of its run. So it's not like anything changes per se. What is unclear is, as Beth says, was it always going to be 90-minute episodes once the WeHo show was over? Or is this to, some good press for the show? Okay, let's try to like re-edit everything, which would be a crazy task to try to like re-edit everything. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they were planning this all along. We need the inside scoop, but
it is just such a weird. We need 90-minute episodes when we have more queens. We're getting 90-minute episodes at the exact point in the competition where they're just going to be boring. Like, we don't need them. We'll know the peak queens.
If they were going to do Real Gays of WeHo, no, not Real Gays. I keep doing that.
I like Real Gays.
Everybody calls it the Real Gays of WeHo, though. Like, they're really gay, guys.
And they're really friends, guys.
And they're really from WeHo.
They should have just did that like later, like put that latter half of the season, and then we would still have been upset that we were losing out on 90-minute episodes, but at least it would have made more sense when there's less queens and there's less filler that needs to be there. So yeah.
So my question is, they are still airing it? I thought they stopped airing it.
I think it aired last week at least.
I don't think it aired this week.
It didn't? I thought it was 6 episodes.
I think I don't know if they've canceled it or not, but I kept getting ads that showed some kind of fine arts competition that's now going to be after Drag Race starting like this week.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let's take a quick peek see at the MTV schedule.
Either that or I had an incredibly vivid dream that's like really messing with me.
That is all entirely possible. Okay, so this coming Friday, RuPaul's Drag Race, the Lip Sync Lollapalooza SmackDown airing at 8 p.m. and at 9 p.m. the Real Gay Friends of WeHo.
Real Gay Friends.
At 9. So it's still airing as far as I can tell.
Maybe, I don't know what it is, but there's some show that they had like a fine arts competition that I was actually like, it's amazing to me that somebody hasn't done a competition that's like painting and sculpting. Am I making, please in the comments or at me on Twitter if I am going crazy, or if I did have some kind of weird prophetic dream.
You manifested the cancellation.
Can you imagine?
You really did.
Beth manifested it. It's happening. My third eye was opened by Daytona Wind, and
we have an ant problem. All right. That's everything. Anything else?
We gotta talk just for a second about a little entitled queen named Lucy LaDuca in Untucked.
Oh, yes.
Give me the tea. I haven't seen Untucked.
Oh, okay. Well, this is all you missed.
Let us tell you about it. It really was the Lucy DeLuca show. Lucy LaDuca, whatever. Of her being like, I deserve to be in the top. She told the queens that were safe. She told the queens in the bottom. She told the queens in the top. She told the ants that were the ant problem. She told everyone and their mother.
Guest judge Henry.
She was like, I deserve to be in the top. I'm just saying.
Told everybody. And not just once, at least 3 times each. But she's like, guys, I'm just so pissed because I know I did well and I deserve to be in the top. And then my favorite part was Mistress. I love the way that Mistress does this when there's confrontation or if people are trying to be real. Mistress said, I think that the runway was really important to the judges. And Lucy goes, did you not like my look? And she goes, no, I thought it was cute, but I just think that maybe it wasn't as as interesting as maybe something else for the judges. And she goes, I completely disagree. It's just like, I was like, okay, Lucy. But like, my whole thing is like, yes, Lucy, you did fine. But when I watched that, you are not a name I'm remembering from that. I'm
Same.
sorry.
Mm-mm.
And I love Lucy, but like not this episode, girl. That came off as a little entitled and bratty to me.
I think part of it probably is she considers herself to be a acting queen, right?
Mhm.
Like a comedy acting queen. So this is the challenge where she feels like she should have excelled. So I think that's also probably part of it, is that she's like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I do well at. Obviously I'm going to do well, and obviously I'm going to be in the top. So I don't understand why I wouldn't be in the top. And I think that she's then, because she has that perception of how she thinks she's going to do, she's missing reality, I guess,
Right.
of like
Right.
what actually happened. Because, I mean, again, I learned more from the rehearsal than I did from the actual performance. And I didn't really see her in the rehearsal. But even with watching, she was there in the beginning for a little bit. She did have the one line of, let's see how this turns out. But then it was like edited weird. So I couldn't tell if she did a good job or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's fine. She's safe.
I mean, I don't think that acting chops were going to help anybody in that challenge, to be fair. So,
Fair.
Except
yeah.
for Danny Trejo. No, wait. He didn't even act.
Angie.
Oh, God.
Miss
Oh,
Dangy.
okay. Next week, lip sync Lollapalooza. We're back at it. 1 hour, a ton of lip syncs, maybe. We'll see what's in store for us. We
Yeah.
will be back to break all of that down next week. In the meantime, you can follow us on social media. Aman, where can people find you? Anything else you want to plug?
You can find me everywhere at Aman Adwin. Nothing to plug right now.
And Beth, what about you?
You can find me at AugustaWind11 on all my socials. And yeah, you can just catch me here on the Drag Race coverage.
And you can find me on Twitter at Liana RHAP. Also, holding it down with the Drag Race fort. And apparently Masked Singer is coming back, which I remembered, unfortunately. So Puya and I will be covering, I don't know, friggin' season 9. I don't know what we're at. But there's some cute costumes. There's a gargoyle and an axolotl. So I'm excited for those cute costumes. So we are going to be recording that podcast this week. We're also doing a takeover. If you've been following what we're doing on the RHAP Instagram, RHAP Grams, we've been doing a takeover. We did one on the 6th of February. Puya and I are going to be doing one on the 16th to talk about everything from the Masked Singer episode, do stories and stuff and Instagram things that I definitely know how to do because I'm hip and I'm cool. So check that out on the 16th. If you want to leave your star ratings and reviews for us here on the Drag Race podcast, you can do so by going to robhasawebsite.com/drag race. Be sure to subscribe to the RHAPups channel as well if you're not already. That is robhasawebsite.com/RHAPups feed. And that is it. Thank you, Scott, and the whole team behind the scenes. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.